All right, so I guess here goes take one. My last swim meet was in February of 2007. It was Ohio University MAC Championships. And just before that, we had found out that the men's swim team was about to be cut entirely. So we were all done. And it kind of went one of two ways. Either some guys had something to prove. I think that was the prevailing feeling throughout the team. Some guys checked out, just said, well, it's over, so it doesn't matter anyway. But it was a pretty emotional time. In that winter training leading up to that meet, I got the flu. I got down to 138 pounds at 5'10". Very, very skinny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. And I was able to put on some weight and train a little bit after that and then get ready for taper. I remember I went a 55.8 in the 100 back and a 158.4 in the 200 back. So it always up until this moment, it was just kind of what could I have done? I always felt like I skated through that period of my life as well. I just kind of coasted, whether it was school or training or anything else. I just kind of went with the flow and didn't really put too much effort into it. And I started swimming late. I started swimming when I was 13, I want to say, and then was done when I was 18. So from 13 to 18 was my swimming career. And now here I am at 38 years old, 20 years later, 20 years after that last swim meet. And I've kept up with fitness. I kept myself in pretty decent shape, and I have a very clean diet and good lifestyle decisions. I've taken care of my body. But still, that idea has always kind of haunted me. Like, what were you capable of, or what could you be capable of? So every Friday night, kind of run it back a little bit, every Friday night, my family, my 3 kids, my wife and I, we meet up with my parents, my mom and dad. Either they come over here or we go over to their place. One night, a couple months ago, we went over to my parents' place, and my dad kind of pulled me into the office and said, "Hey, Alex, come here, come check this out." We go into his office, and he has a small little TV hooked up to a VHS player, and the VHS was of that 2007 MAC championships with Ohio University, and my final swim meet ever. So we sat down and we watched the prelims, finals, 100 back, the 200 back, and this just flood of emotion internally. I don't know if I showed it outright, but internally I'm sitting there going, man, you didn't give it a fair shot. And you were overtrained, and you weren't really leaning into. You didn't vibe with the training philosophy back then, and you needed something different. And what could you have done if you really applied yourself? And I just sat there and I thought, you know what? Let's give it another go. Why not? Why can't I give it another go? I'm 38. I'm 20 years older than I was then, but I feel great. I feel strong. I've got 2 decades worth of life experience and how to deal with pressure and stress and time management and nutrition, emotions, just all of that stuff that I didn't have back then. So what could you do now? And I went home that night after dinner, and the thought just never left me. I couldn't give it up. I couldn't stop thinking about, where could this go? What could you do? And I went home and got wrapped up in the world of YouTube, clips of Olympic races and NCAAs and just kind of motivational stuff, like watching these guys and gals at the top of the top, do amazing things in the water. And it just got me excited. It got me even more, not that I'm ever going to get to that level, but it just brought back the joy and the excitement of racing and competing and people, human beings, trying to strive to be the greatest that they can be. It was incredibly exciting. And pretty much immediately I went up to my, sock drawer and started digging through. I knew I had a Speedo in there, somewhere. And so I found it. I found an old Speedo. I found my old swim bag with goggles and caps. You know, a lot of it was corroded and basically melting from years of, sitting in there with old chlorine on it. So I hopped on the computer and I bought everything I needed. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, let's do it right. So I got a new swimsuit, goggles, cap, pull buoys, fins, snorkel. I even got a parachute. I mean, who knows when I'm going to be able to put that into use. A kickboard, just everything I thought I would need to train effectively and like actually do this the right way. And once you've made the kind of financial plunge, right, for any given endeavor, it makes it a little more real and it adds a little more weight to it. Now you actually have to try. And so, I got in a few times, into the pool and started, splashing around and trying to see how it felt. Pushed it too hard a couple times, ended up injuring my left shoulder, which was kind of scary. I went to an orthopedic surgeon. He checked me out, did some imaging. He said, it looks all good. So we're going to go through some physical therapy. I did 6 weeks of PT, a bunch of exercises, stretches. I keep that up to this day. I do that pretty much daily and I stretch every night. But I had to step back. So it's like, okay, you tried to enter, you tried it. You went too hard, too fast. It's a very clear sign. Hey, your age, you're 20 years older than you were then. Your body does not recover the same way. You have to take things slow and approach this with care if you're going to do this at all. So I took the time off, the 6 weeks off. I got my shoulder back in shape. I strengthened throughout that time all of the tiny little stabilizer muscles. And now I'm getting back in. So I've developed a training plan. The first 13 weeks is going to be base building, aerobic foundation work. Then we're going to start working in some speed and, power work. And then we're going to get into race specific training. And all of this is leading up to April of 2027, US Masters Swimming Spring Nationals out in Irvine, California. It'll be just after 20 years from the date of my last meet. So I'll be 39 years old at that point, 21 years older than I was then. But, things are different now. I've got, a lot more to think about in life with the 3 children and my wife, my career. I'm a freelance cinematographer, so I travel a bit. I shoot commercials and music videos for some bands that you may have seen, and brands that you may have seen. I've worked on some movies that you might have watched on your favorite streaming services. And life is just a little busier now than it was back in college and high school, when all you had to do was train and go to class, and you had tons of time to recover, recuperate, relax, take your mind off other things. Now, you either get it in early in the morning and you come home and, hang out with the family and take care of your duties around the house and your work or whatever, or you train at night, you train in the afternoon. Right now, I'm lucky where the kids are in school and, I've got pockets of time where I can carve out substantial, training throughout the week. And when I travel, I'm a member of the YMCA, so I can have a job coming up soon out in the DC area, and where we're staying, I can go to the YMCA there and ideally train after I'm done working or before work that day. So I'm going to try to make it work and be as consistent as possible and really give this a fair shake. So right now I'm swimming 3 days a week for the next, 4, 5, 6 weeks to kind of build up yardage and volume. Then I'll introduce a 4th day, let that ride for a bit, introduce a 5th day. So right now I'm swimming 3 days a week and I'm running 2 days a week and I'm lifting 2 days after my swims. So I'm already into a pretty heavy schedule for someone of my advanced age. but it's gonna start shifting more towards pool work. Keep the strength. The strength is gonna develop into more specifics, as we go. Right now, it's just I think anything's gonna work. Anything's gonna get me in shape in the pool and get me used to the mechanics again. Um, but I'm really excited to see where it can go. So 2007, 55 high, 100 back, 158, 200 back. April of 2027, I'm going to be swimming the 50, 100, 200 free, 100, 200 back. And then if training's going well and I feel good, I might throw in the 500 free just for giggles to see where I'm at. So if you're like me and you were a college athlete, high school athlete, maybe you've lived a little bit, you've got some years behind you, and you're just curious, like what could I do? What's possible now with everything I've learned, and the age and strength that comes with aging and all that stuff. Maybe consider following along and seeing what happens, because I honestly have no idea where this is going. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get close to those times or beat those times, or maybe I fall really short. And there's just the realization of, hey, dude, you're just a lot older than you were. Suck it up. Best days are behind you. I totally unsure, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, and I'm excited. So follow along.